You know, there's this weird financial feeling that so many of us have, but we don't really talk about it. It's that feeling where you're pretty sure you're doing everything you're supposed to, but real, lasting stability, it always feels like it's just around the corner, just out of reach.
Okay, so it starts like this, right? You've got income. Money is coming in. You're not broke by any stretch of the imagination. And for the most part, you feel like you've got things kind of under control.
I mean, you're paying your bills, you're juggling all your responsibilities, you're basically keeping the ship afloat. And if someone looked from the outside, they'd think, yeah, they've got it together. Heck, most days you probably even convince yourself that you're handling it just fine. But there's always a but, isn't there? That feeling of real, deep down security. You know, the kind where you can finally just exhale and relax. It's always just over the next hill. You tell yourself, okay, maybe after this next raise, or just as soon as I pay off this one last thing, then I'll be set. And it's so frustrating, right? Because you are putting in the work, you're being responsible, but it still feels like you're on a treadmill, just running and not getting anywhere. So what is actually going on here? Is this just a matter of not having enough willpower? Or is there something deeper, something else happening behind the scenes? Well, this is usually where our thinking goes off the rails. Our go-to explanation is to blame ourselves, right? I just need more discipline, or I guess I don't know enough about money. But what if the problem isn't you at all? The psychological reality is actually way more interesting. It points to this hidden mental pattern, a kind of trap that keeps us stuck in a cycle. And here it is. This is the big clue that unlocks the whole puzzle. The real problem isn't just about the dollars and cents in your bank account. Nope. It's about what all that financial pressure does to your brain. It messes with your ability to think clearly. It eats up your mental bandwidth. Yeah, psychologists have this perfect word for it. They call it tunneling. And it's a great metaphor. Just picture it. You're in a dark tunnel. The only thing you can focus on is that tiny speck of light at the very end. That's the urgent problem of the day. Everything else, your long-term goals, your bigger plans, all that strategic thinking, it all just disappears into the darkness on either side of you. So here's the deal. Our brains literally operate differently depending on the situation. When we feel like we have enough, a state of abundance, we have the headspace to be calm, to be strategic, to think about the future. But the moment our brain perceives scarcity, a switch flips. We go into survival mode. Our thinking becomes totally reactive, and we get laser focused on one thing and one thing only, getting through the crisis that's right in front of our face. And you know, this shift into survival mode, it isn't just a one-off thing. It actually creates a loop, a cycle that feeds itself. So what is this hidden trap? This thing that's powered by our own minds and keeps so many of us stuck, just spinning our wheels. It's called the scarcity loop, and it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Ready? The financial pressure makes your brain tunnel. That tunneling forces you to focus only on short-term fixes, but those quick fixes often end up creating more pressure down the road, which, you guessed it, starts the whole loop all over again. It's a psychological feedback loop, plain and simple. So let's just walk through this cycle one more time. Step 1, the pressure starts to build. Step 2, that pressure triggers the tunneling effect, and your mental bandwidth just shrinks. Step 3, because of that, you prioritize whatever quick fix will solve the immediate problem. And step 4, that short-term solution, while it feels good in the moment, actually makes the long-term situation a little bit worse, which just amps up the pressure for the next go-around. And once you see this loop, you start to see it everywhere. Think about it. An unexpected car repair comes up. When you're in that scarcity tunnel, putting it on the credit card is the only thing that makes sense. You need your car, right? But of course, that adds to your long-term debt. Or here's another great one. Working more hours. It feels like the obvious fix for a money problem. But what does it create? A time scarcity problem. And that puts you in a tunnel too, making it impossible to find the time to think strategically about your career or your finances. Okay, so if the core problem isn't just a lack of money, but a lack of mental bandwidth, then the solution can't just be make more money. The new goal, the real game changer, is to protect your mental bandwidth. It's all about figuring out how to get your brain out of that constant draining crisis mode. So how in the world do you actually break this loop? Well, it starts with making some small, simple, structural changes. First, automate. Set up automatic savings, automatic bill payments. Why? Because it takes decisions off your plate. Every decision you don't have to make frees up precious mental bandwidth. Next, create a financial buffer. Even a tiny emergency fund can be a lifesaver. It turns a potential crisis into just an annoyance. And this one is huge. Create time buffers. Literally schedule time in your calendar to just think and plan. That is how you give your brain permission to finally step out of the tunnel. So look, if you have ever felt stuck in your finances, like you're just working so hard but getting absolutely nowhere, I want you to consider this. The problem might not be your effort. It's probably not your intelligence, and it's not a lack of discipline. It might just be this invisible psychological loop that has hijacked your attention. And the best part, the most powerful part, once you can see the loop, that's when you finally get the power to break it.